good day from Pennsylvania. Today we're at my favorite place to check out and explore, and that is Camp Michaux in the beautiful Michaux State Forest, close to Pine Grove, Furnace, Pennsylvania. So we are at Bunker Hill Road, right off of Michaux Road, at the little parking area. And we're going to go check this out and see some really cool stuff today. So let's get going. I apologize for the audio. When I recorded this originally, I was using a external microphone on my camera, and I don't know if I did something wrong or what happened, but I didn't get any sound, so I have to do a voiceover, which I do not like to do because it makes it harder to. It just makes it harder to do this. So anyway, here is an information board, and it just tells you a brief history about this area here where the camp is. It was a farm in the late 1700s up until about 1920, 1921. Then the land sat empty for quite a few years, and then the government took this land over, and this site was chosen to build a civilian conservation camp for the CCC. Then after the CCC was finished with it, the Army took it over and used it for a POW camp for German and Japanese prisoners of war from 1944 to 1946, from 1943 to 1945, I'm sorry. And then after that, the Presbyterian Church leased it and used it as a church camp, like a youth church camp. And that was from 1947 till the end of 1972 camp season. Then after that, the land sat empty for a few more years. The church didn't renew their lease, and the game commission, or the state, took it back over. Now it's state forest land. So this is information board, just shows a bunch of pictures and has some information. It's pretty neat to check out. And we're starting here on this side of Michaux Road. The camp had stuff on both sides of Michaux Road. This area that we're at right here, this was the motor pool area, the maintenance area. There were gas pumps here. This is where all the equipment was stored over on this side, the trucks and bulldozers and all that kind of stuff. In the weeds here, right beyond the sign marker and everything, there are some foundations to the garages and everything, but this area is so overgrown you can't see them right now, but they are there. And I'm not sure what happened here. Why did my video pause? Please bear with me. I'm still learning how to edit, so I am new to this. So anyway, we're going to walk up here, and there's a couple things I want to show. The ruins to the original farmhouse is up here. The farmhouse was used by all three camps, and it was used during the CCC and the prisoner of war camp. It was used as like a headquarters or house for the high officials to stay in. And during the church camp, it was used for the counselors. Some of the counselors would use it as a residence while they were working here. And that's all that's left, is the remains of the porch. It's what you're looking at right there. That's just the porch to the house, and the house sat back from it. There's no foundation to the house left. I'm guessing it just sat on a concrete slab, but the foundation you're seeing now is to the porch of the house, not the house itself. And there were two parts to the house. There was like a main part of the house, and then there was a smaller part of the house. What you're seeing, this was what's left of the smaller part of the house. By the time the CCC came here and built this camp, the main structure of the house had been torn down, so they used the smaller part of the house. There will be another picture here later where I'll be able to describe what I mean. And then this area here, this is up from the foundation we were just at. This area was called Vesper Hill, and this is like a hillside. This slopes down. Believe it or not, we're looking down, like right here, we're looking downhill towards where we just were. But this hillside, there used to be benches, little wooden benches made out of tree stumps and like 2x4s, and I'm thinking this might be the remnants of one of the benches. This might be one of the pieces of wood, the stumps, because it looks like it's cut cleanly by a saw. I mean, it's very old. It's hard to say if it is or if it isn't. But basically, this hillside had all these little all these wooden benches on it, and people would sit there and they would have outdoor services on this hill, which, it would have been nice during the summer cool evenings and stuff to sit outside and have church services instead of being inside a hot, stuffy building. And now we're back down. We're back down right in front of where the porch foundation to the house is. And I found this laying right along the path, an old can of Schlitz. Haven't seen one of them in probably 40 years. I mean, look at the pull tab on that thing. This can's old. So I thought that was pretty cool. I picked it up, packed it out, took it with me. I'll find a recycle bin and chuck it in there first chance I get. So here we're coming to our first set of ruins, and this is the base to one of the guard towers from the POW camp. You can see the 4 concrete supports with the steel supports coming up out of them, and I'm guessing that's where the legs of the towers were bolted to. I've seen pictures. You can go online and see pictures of the guard towers. It looks like they were made out of wood. They don't look like the typical guard tower like you'd think of in like a movie or something. They look different. And then we're coming up on the right hand side up here will be what's left of the barn, the original barn from the farm. There's just a little piece of it left, and this barn, from what I understand, was built in the late 1700s. And there's not much known about it. The barn, it seems like, had suffered a fire sometime. There's no mention when, but the early pictures of the farm from the early 1900s, the barn was already in disrepair. The roof of it was gone. It was just some walls standing. So whatever happened to it must have happened to it long time ago, even before the early 1900s. But that's all that's left right there. That little bit, and then that little bit right there. And there was a section in between those two parts that fell in 2016. So up until 2016, that was one big section of wall until the middle part collapsed. And then they decided to put a fence around it so you couldn't get up close to it, because someone would have been standing there, they would have been crushed. You can't see it in the weeds, but there's a huge pile of rocks laying in there from the barn. So I think that's pretty cool. That little bit's still standing there from the late 1700s. It would have been nice to be able to see. Now here's a picture. Here's another information board, but you see on the right hand side, back then the barn is, well, it's out of the frame now, but there's the farmhouse. You see the big part, and then next to it to the left, the smaller part. And then, yeah, like I said, there's the barn. There's what's left of the barn. You can see this is in 1913, and there's a section of the wall that was still standing. And that's the barn in 1913. You can see the roof is missing, and some of the walls are missing. So even by then it was already in bad shape. And then the farmhouse, you can see the big part on the left, and then look to the right, there's a smaller part. The smaller part is what was still there and what was used. Well, I guess the big part of the house might have been in bad condition and got torn down. And then there's just another brief description of the farm. So farming ended by the mid-20s. Yeah, and then it says what the farmhouse was used from 43 to 45, and then by the church camp from 46 to 72. So that's pretty much that's all the information there is about the farm. So next we'll be going over on the other side of Michaux Road to check out everything that's over there on the other side, and that's where a lot of the good stuff is. So